Just before 1 a.m. on December 26, 2018, not even an hour after the Christmas holiday had ended, Newman, California Police Corporal Officer Ronil Singh performed a traffic stop on a pickup. 3 minutes later, after that stop was performed, Singh reported shots fired. A responding officer found Officer Singh with multiple gunshot wounds, and upon arrival to the hospital, Officer Singh was pronounced dead. Officer Singh grew up in the small town of Nauvoo, Fiji, and had immigrated to California in 2003 with his family. He attended the police academy and joined the Newman, California Police Department in 2011. Ronil Singh was a K-9 officer with the Newman Police Department, and the Newman Police Department was a small department with just about a dozen sworn officers. After his murder, Newman Police Chief Randy Richardson remembered Singh as, quote, an American patriot who came to the U.S. from Fiji to become a police officer. He loved his wife and his 5-month-old son dearly. Once this case broke in the media, and why so much light was shown on this case, was the ongoing debate between immigration, as the perpetrator of this crime was also an immigrant himself who had come in illegally through Mexico and had basically turned himself into a career criminal in the short time he was here in the States. The murder of Officer Singh fired off a debate with the sitting president at the time, Donald Trump, actually tweeting about this case and having both sides of the argument having people very, very fired up. In the end, the real tragedy is the senseless murder of Officer Singh and what many saw as a crime that could have 100% been prevented.
We have team coverage tonight of this intense drama that ended here in Kern County, including 17's Karen Waugh with details from Sheriff Donnie Youngblood about their quick call to action when they received the tip. But we begin with 17's Aton Wallace and a wild night just north of Lamont and what is typically a very peaceful holiday week around the world. Aton, good evening.
That's right, Jim. We're about 10 miles south of the city of Bakersfield, just a little bit north of the town of Lamont, specifically in the community of Hilltop. Now, just behind me, this is the home where Kern County Sheriff's deputies made the arrest early this morning of Gustavo Arriaga. Neighbors are telling us they were awoken by the raid and heard it all.
I got woken up at 7:30 this morning to the sounds of, this is the police, come out with your hands up.
Neighbors on the 5200 block of Brooks Lane describing an early morning KCSO raid that led to the capture and arrest of 32-year-old Gustavo Perez Arriaga. He's the man accused of gunning down Newman police officer Corporal Ronil Singh.
There was trucks everywhere, SWAT trucks, police everywhere.
Also in on the raid, the bomb squad. Neighbor Twyla McCullers says deputies knocked down her fence during the operation.
And they said they had to come onto my property so he couldn't escape from the back door of that house over there.
Just after 8 this morning, Arriaga was arrested at this house. And this afternoon, TV 17 cameras captured what appeared to be 2 men and a woman entering the house and leaving shortly after. Neighbors say the 3 are relatives of the suspect and are from a family that got good reviews from those who live on this block.
Well, it's just the parents and their 2 daughters and a son-in-law and their grandbaby. And they're good, hardworking people. You always see them go to work and come home, and they have never been into any trouble or never caused any problems. It's a big surprise.
A surprise in a neighborhood described as safe by those who live here. Neighbors say they're relieved the ordeal here appears to be over.
They assured me that everything's safe now. So we're okay.
Now, before the arrest occurred, KCSO had a 24-hour surveillance on this house. That is according to the Stanislaus County Sheriff. We should also tell you that Arriaga surrendered without incident. We're live here near Lamont. Aton Wallace, 17 News.
Gustavo Perez Arriaga, 33 years old, again, was arrested earlier today during the execution of a search warrant. He was found at a residence in the Bakersfield, Kern County area. And we'll get into the specifics of that. First, I want to introduce Officer Ron Singh's brother, Reggie. He'd like to share a few words with all of you.
Please bear with me. This is not easy for me. Ronil Singh was my older brother. Yes, he's not coming back. But there's a lot of people out there that misses him. And a lot of law enforcement people that I don't know that work days and nights to make this happen. I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart to make this happen. I wish I could thank all the law enforcement agencies, Homeland Security in San Francisco, everyone, Bakersfield team. I was waiting for this to happen. I'd like to thank you, working day and night to make this happen. Thank you.
Accused cop killer Gustavo Perez Arriaga is behind bars tonight, and now we're learning of more arrests, one of them right here in the Bay Area. Arriaga's girlfriend, Ana Cervantes, was taken into custody this afternoon in Turlock, and his brother, Conrado Mendoza, was arrested in Livermore, both accused of helping Arriaga while he was on the run. 5 other people were arrested earlier today. And this just in, our first look at Arriaga's mugshot. According to the Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department, authorities have also found the likely murder weapon. Investigators say Arriaga, who is 32, entered the U.S. illegally from Mexico years ago and may have been headed back to the border when he was captured. They say he was affiliated with gangs and had 2 prior DUI arrests. And this was heartbreaking. Corporal Ronil Singh's younger brother was emotional as he thanked officers today.
I was waiting for this to happen. I'd like to thank you, working day and night to make this happen. Thank you.
Law enforcement in Stanislaus County made sure that Corporal Singh's handcuffs were the ones used on Arriaga as he was held in custody today. Corporal Singh leaves behind a wife and a 5-month-old son.
Well, the Stanislaus County Sheriff says that the murder suspect's status as an undocumented immigrant points to flaws in California's sanctuary policy.
If he wasn't here, then he wouldn't have been driving drunk, and it wouldn't have been reported to Officer Singh, and the encounter, the stop, the enforcement stop, potentially never would have occurred. My point is, why are we providing sanctuary for criminals, gang members? It's a conversation we need to have.
The sheriff says current sanctuary laws place too many restrictions on law enforcement and put communities
a lot of moving parts in this case, so here's where everything stands right now. Investigators say 33-year-old Gustavo Arriaga shot and killed Corporal Ronil Singh during a traffic stop the day after Christmas. Arriaga, also known as Pablo Mendoza, was taken into custody after a 3-day manhunt. He appeared in court a week after the shooting, but his own public defender questioned his mental stability. A judge suspended his proceedings and ordered a doctor's report on his mental competency before anything can continue. The 7 suspects accused of helping Arriaga hide all pleaded not guilty in county court, but federal charges have since been filed. In the paperwork filed by federal prosecutors, we learned after Corporal Singh was shot and killed, Arriaga's first stop was the mobile home park, where he lived with his girlfriend in Newman. While there, investigators say he concealed his truck by using large pieces of plywood. The court documents say his girlfriend gave Arriaga several sets of clothing, all part of his apparent plan to get to Mexico without being captured in the U.S. The court documents also say others in the group helped him get rid of the alleged murder weapon, gave him rides, wired money to help him get to Mexico, and bought him a new cell phone. All 7 are accused of harboring an illegal immigrant and shielding him from detection, each of which could face up to 20 years in prison. All 4 of these suspects are expected to be back in court the same day Arriaga should be here for his mental competency review in February. We will let you know what happens. In Stanislaus County, Lena Howland, ABC.
The man accused of killing a Newman police officer arrived in court with shackles on both his hands and feet. The court says the man we have been calling Gustavo Arriaga has another name. Today, he told the judge his real name is Paulo Virgen Mendoza.
Mendoza is facing murder charges of Corporal Ronil Singh of the Newman Police Department. Investigators say Singh pulled over Mendoza for suspected drunk driving when Mendoza shot him. Several dozen family members of Singh were outside the courtroom, many fighting back tears. Attorneys asked the court to delay the case until February 2nd. They want to determine if Mendoza is competent to stand trial. Prosecutors say Mendoza is in the United States illegally and has been in trouble with the law before, including charges of driving under the influence.
Today we're here to honor Corporal Ronil Singh.
Outside the courthouse, at least 100 demonstrators holding signs, some saying protect our officers.
Supporting our police officers, and right now Ron. But
is this a difficult day?
A very difficult day to see our officers just mowed down the way they're being. And we have a police officer in our families.
Some sign holders say they were there for change. This man holding a sign saying fight SB 54. SB 54 is a California sanctuary state bill that would prohibit any state or local law from acting on any pre-existing immigration laws.
There was an illegal alien that shot Officer Singh. That could have been avoided. How much more do we need? How many more officers do we need killed in the line of duty by illegals for the state to wake up?
Since he is accused of killing a police officer, he is eligible for the death penalty, but the district attorney has not decided if they will do that. Now, there is another question. If pre-trial publicity will cause the trial to be moved to another county. One attorney we spoke with, who has defended others in Stanislaus County, agrees.
I think there's definitely going to be a request by the defense team, when they eventually get one, to move the case to a different venue, probably the Bay Area. I think that it's been highly publicized here.
In closing, Your Honor, I'd just like to tell the defendant, Ronil era un hombre de buen corazón,
Ronil had a good heart.
que vino a este país dedicando su vida
He came to this country to dedicate his life
a proteger las personas para que se hiciera justicia.
to protect people and to have justice done.
Eres un inservible,
You're useless.
un cobarde
You're a coward.
y un asesino.
You're a killer.
Eres exactamente de lo que Ronil
You are exactly what Ronil,
se despertaba cada mañana para proteger a su comunidad.
the reason Ronil will wake up every morning to protect his community from.
Nos da una gran alegría saber
We're happy to know that
que pasarías el resto de tu vida exactamente donde perteneces.
you will spend the rest of a life exactly where you belong at.
Hoy se ha hecho justicia para Ronil.
Today, Ronil has had justice done.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back. Another episode of Greenlit Gang TV. Appreciate you guys checking out the channel. We're going to be going to Cali again with this one. We're going to be covering a Sureno gang member. We're going to be covering immigration issues. And it's really important to understand about this story is the time that this story took place. Okay, this happened towards the end of 2018. Now, for those of you that don't remember or maybe don't know, I'd be surprised if you didn't know, Donald Trump, who is running for president right now, he was the acting sitting president at this time. He'd been elected in 2016 in a hotly contested presidential election. And I'm sure you'd have to be living under a rock to not know. Donald Trump is a very divisive figure. You know where he stands on everything. And one of those stances that he took a very strong stance on was immigration, right? We all remember one time he was getting elected, he was going to build the wall. He was going to have Mexico pay for it. Quote, they're not sending their best. He really riled up a lot of people that loved him and that hated him. And where I live, there's a strong Hispanic population. I've gotten it from both sides. I know Hispanic people and friends that do like him and like what he does for businesses and the economy. And I've also know friends and family, girls I've dated that can't stand him and that genuinely fear if he became president again. And, I'm sure you all know he is running again this year. But the point is, this is a very strong emotional time in our country, and immigration is the key topic in a lot of these election issues and a lot of these liberal, Republican, it's just a hot button issue at all times. So 2018, we're at the peak of that. The very first hour of the day on December 26th, the day after Christmas, Officer Singh sees a silver Dodge pickup kind of veering in and out, driving erratically, goes to perform a DUI stop. Within 3 minutes of that stop, he would call out shots fired. A responding officer gets to the scene. Officer Singh is wounded badly, very, very badly, basically mortally wounded. And upon his arrival to the hospital, or right as he was getting to the hospital, he dies from his injuries. Okay. Now, like I said in the intro, you got to remember, Officer Singh was also an immigrant himself. He had come here in 2003, attended the police academy, and he became a cop in 2011 for the Newman, California Police Department. So, and you can tell in the press conferences with his coworkers, the chief and all that, very emotional. It's a very emotional time. It's a very, people are very upset. People are very hurt. That Newman Police Department was very small. So there's only about 12 officers. So obviously you're going to be very close with that group of guys. Everybody knows everybody very, very well. Families know everybody. So, and he was married, had a little 5-year-old or 5-month-old son. I mean, that's just horrible. Around 3 p.m. on the day of the 26th, so the day the murder happened, police announced that they had identified a suspect, and they also found the truck that he was driving basically abandoned. Now, 2 days later, basically it was a 55-hour manhunt. 2 days later, they announced that they had made an arrest. And who they arrested? Gustavo Perez Arriaga was the man that they said killed Officer Ronil Singh. They said that they knew about the suspect's whereabouts on the 27th, the day before, who was in Kern County. They said he was kind of in the Bakersfield area. They arrest him in the town of Lamont, where a search warrant was served early in the morning on the 28th. 7 people end up getting picked up in total for helping, Gustavo Perez Arriaga basically avoid capture. And his whole goal and what came out was that he was trying to get to Mexico, right? He's trying to get back to Mexico. It had come out, too, that he had illegally come into the States by way of Mexico, and he'd gone to Arizona and kind of made his way around. Those 7 people included a brother, Adrian Vergen, and a coworker, Eric Juarez. And like I said, other friends, other family members. He was, at the time, after the murder happened, he initially drove straight to a mobile home park where he lived with his girlfriend. They tried to cover up the truck with plywood. She gave him changes of clothes. And he really had a little network working for him that they were, really trying to get him to Mexico. And those people ended up all getting rounded up and charged. And that's going to happen, man. You kill a cop, and it's all hands on deck, and they're going to come hot and heavy at you. So now outrage starts pouring out, okay? Because again, Donald Trump is president. Immigration is a hot button issue. Donald Trump actually tweets about this case and uses it as an example as to why we need to be firm on immigration laws, all right? 33-year-old Gustavo Perez is an illegal alien. The person he killed was an immigrant who came from Fiji, who people, quote, would say he did it, quote, the right way, right? And again, I don't like to get into this. I'm not going to give my opinion on any of this. I see both sides of it. I see people in Mexico who come from nothing, who are trying to make a better life, who are tired of being maybe extorted by the cartel, or who just want an opportunity to thrive and give a better life to their children. And they're going to do whatever it takes to have that better life. And they're going to work their asses off to do so. And I also see the flip side of it, where stuff like this happens. And if you're a family member of Officer Singh, you're going to be like, what the F is this about? And this should have never happened, and this could have been totally avoided. Now, what didn't help Gustavo Arriaga, and for those who were maybe on the side of immigration, is it came out that he'd been arrested twice before for DUIs. Okay, he'd been picked up for DUIs, and then, of course, obviously, the reason Officer Singh was trying to stop him because he was driving erratically. So likely he was drunk again. This is 12:30 in the morning, the day after Christmas. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be a cop to put 2 and 2 together. He's probably been drinking. All right. And on top of that, Gustavo Perez was a known Sureno street gang member, and he would flaunt this on social media. He was banging blue. He was banging Sureno. He's in this California area. He's probably got family. He's probably got friends, and he's living that life. He's living that gangster lifestyle. And obviously he was. I mean, to just, to go from a couple DUIs to killing a cop is just, that's a crazy jump. But it happens. And you see why cops are so protective. And I do see why they are so stern. And when they pull somebody over, they don't take it lightly because things happen so fast. They happen on a dime. And I hear people that say, well, they signed up for it. And yes, that's true. And I never like to see when they're racist. I never like to see when they mistreat people, when they overdo it with physical force and all that. But man, no matter how much you dislike police, you cannot say that, especially in today's world, that job is not dangerous. You can't. You can't say that. You're just in denial. You're not going to tell me that it's not a dangerous job. Yes, they signed up for it, but man, the guy's got a 5-month-old son. He's got a wife. Just like all of us when we go to work, we just want to go home. So you got to see both sides of it, okay? So here we go. We got Gustavo Perez Arriaga. He's a known Sureno street gang member. Got a couple DUIs. He came up here illegally through Mexico. So you hear this when the sheriff's talking about it, right? Now, something to remember is that California is very liberal. They have a lot of sanctuary cities, okay? A sanctuary city is a municipality that limits or denies its cooperation with the national government in enforcing immigration law. So, federal law trumps state law, right, guys? Okay, we all know that. If we didn't, now you do. But that doesn't mean that the states or the cities are going to be cooperative, and that's the case. So if the feds really want to come in, they can deport anybody. They can take anybody back. They could have taken Gustavo back and said, nope, you're not a legal immigrant. We're sending you back. Their job is made a lot easier when the states and cities comply with them. So in California, a lot of these places do not do that, okay? And it might be all of California that doesn't do it. I don't know for sure. If one of you does know, feel free to comment down below. But at least in this case, where Gustavo Arriaga was, he was in a sanctuary city, and the feds or anything like that, or what Trump was trying to do, they were not going to get any help from local officials or local police in that one. So he gets picked up. A week after his arrest, he goes to court, but the lawyer tries to get a mental eval done. And this is crazy. It came out that Gustavo Perez Arriaga was not even his real name. Okay? His real name was Paulo Mendoza. And he'd actually been wanted on a bench warrant for about 5 years. Now, it was only a misdemeanor bench warrant, and you see that in the news story that, so when you have like a misdemeanor bench warrant, they're not going to be actively looking for you, but if you get pulled over, it can pop up. So why he chose 0 to 60 on this day to go from, hey, maybe I'm drunk driving to I'm going to shoot this police officer. A lot of different things, right? Maybe it's his third DUI. He's got this bench warrant out. Maybe he's just like, you know what? I'm going to get sent back to Mexico anyway. Screw it. What do I got to lose? You just really don't know what's going through somebody's mind. But regardless, he did it. He pulled the trigger and he ended this officer's life. So he goes through the court system, and in 2020, he ends up pleading guilty. He gets sentenced to life without parole. Basically, he talks about through an interpreter in Spanish that he'd been, drinking all day long. He says, quote, I stopped at a store and I bought more beer. I'd been drinking all day and all night, he recited in Spanish from a prepared statement. When Officer Singh stepped away from his car during the stop, quote, I shot multiple times out of the window. Corporal Singh was shot and died, end quote. The wife goes on to say, you tore my entire life away. The widow said she was breaking down, sobbing on the witness stand. Quote, he wanted his son to also be a police officer. She talks about how the knock on the door came at 2 a.m. from a fellow officer. And I think as a spouse or a family member, I think when something like that comes to the front door, I think you kind of are expecting the worst. He'd been a veteran, so she kind of knew, obviously, something happened. It's probably your worst nightmare because it's the day after Christmas and you have a 5-month-old. But yeah, very, very interesting story. Really want to know what you guys think. Really, please give me your thoughts on immigration. I love having the conversations. I love the chats. Try to respond to all the comments. So anyway, appreciate you guys. Till next time. Peace.